Oh.
Good
Hey,
morning,
everybody.
everyone.
Good morning. Good morning. It's Rick and Lee with the Freedom System. And we are here, whether you're here or not. We're getting started. It's 7:30-ish Pacific. Monday through Friday, we give away free real estate coaching, whether we like to or not, because guess what? It's not about whether you're motivated to be here. It's about whether you're disciplined enough to be here, just like it's about whether you're disciplined enough to be on sales calls, prospecting, time blocking, being with your family, prioritizing your health, prioritizing giving back to others with the income you make. All of that stuff is up to you. Lee, you have some great news this morning.
I do. So, yeah, it's been a big week so far. I've taken 3 listings this week, and yeah, had a really good coaching call yesterday with one of my coaches, and yeah. So, my goal this year is to take like 1 listing per week, and how I break that down, or how we sort of back end engineer that was, I need to go on 5 appointments a week, 5 qualified appointments a week, and then of those, you really, like, realistically, you'll have a real shot at 3, and you'll maybe take 1 or 2 of those listings. And so this week, it's just been a good week so far. I've done a lot of prospecting, and it kind of started over the weekend and then kind of went into this week, Monday, Tuesday. And so, yeah, so of course, now I'm scrambling to get these all live, but yeah, it's been a good week so far. And it's really driving home that, like, your system or your business plan does not have to be complicated. No. Like, that's something that I've really, like, 2022 so far has shown me, is that you don't have to have, like, everybody thinks you have to have like this really sophisticated CRM, and you have to have like this really, amazing brand and logo and all this stuff and you really, like, it really comes down to your daily activities. And that's really been driven home for me this week. So.
Absolutely. And folks, I mean, we're talking about 1.3 million. Was it 1.3?
1,350,000 is like total volume.
New listings, starting as prospecting like Sunday night, Monday, Tuesday. We're recording this on Wednesday. So that's 3 days of production to roughly $35,000, $40,000 worth of commission. Mm-hmm. And at EXP, we cap at 16,000. So we have an 80-20 split. So in our case, and it might be different at your brokerage, but 80-20, when you hit about 3 million, you've capped that for the year, and you keep 100% the rest of the year. So yeah. I just had one of my agents in San Diego, Dave Dufort. He's a rock star. He just caps. Congratulations, Dave. He took a 2.1, or he had a 2.125 closing. He's a first-year agent. And it's just unreal, but it's also San Diego, right? You don't get that in Kansas.
Yeah, no, for sure. That's, definitely. It's funny. My, like, EXP anniversary is like, I think it's like November-ish sometime. And so I just capped as well. And like, it's always kind of that race to get to the cap, which is really, really pretty low. I mean, in my market, like, it's a 16,000 cap, which in my market, the average price here is like over 700,000. So it's like, you can get there. It's doable.
Yeah. And folks, I mean, part of being free is keeping more of your hard-earned cash, right? So part of what we talk about everything. We talk about prospecting, we talk about marketing, we talk about lead gen, we talk about cutting through the BS of Facebook advertising that is pummeling you with cookies to buy stuff. And part of that, though, is when you can keep more cash, you can roll that and leverage that. So we're not dissing systems. We're not dissing like brand. We're not doing any of that. You can have all that, but that's something you scale into, right? So like, I'm talking to one agent. She's selling over, her team is selling over 200 sides a year. You don't do that without some pretty sophisticated systems in place, right? I don't care who you are. Like, you've got to be able to track everything, generate everything, follow up on everything. But when you're capable of being a grinder like Lee, you just keep more cash because you're doing it, right? And then you get to this point where you're having too much business, right? So then you learn to delegate. Lee's hired a transaction coordinator. We've talked about that. $250 a deal, saves him 10 hours, which is worth about $5,000 to him. Then you hire a photographer, right? And you supervise somebody going out. And you hire this and you hire that, and your TC can load stuff into the MLS for you to tweak and refine, and you can go live faster so you can prospect more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, I'm standing on coffee already.
And that's the progression that I think a lot of people, especially when you get newly in the business, and let's say you've been in the business for like a year or two, that's the progression. And that's where so many people, I mean, There's so many people out there that do maybe 8 or 10 deals a year, maybe 15 deals a year. And they're like, and they do 15 deals a year, say, and they're like, oh my God, I feel like I'm slammed all the time. I don't know how to handle this. And if that's how you're feeling, then it's probably time to bring on a little bit of leverage and figure out how you get to the next level. And I think a lot of people never make it there because it freaks them out. They don't know how to handle it. They don't know, how, like, because the difference between, call it like 12 or 15 deals a year and 25 a year is huge. I mean, it's going to feel completely different.
Well, and once you start getting a month where you have 2 deals, right? You got 3 listings like under contract in the first 3 days of this week. Here's where the roller coaster is introduced, right, folks? Mm-hmm. Lee's he's been pushing up the hill. He's at the top of the hill. And then the risk is you spend all of your time now serving those 3 clients.
Exactly.
And now you're not prospecting. And if you're not prospecting right now, right when you got the listing appointment and right when you got the client under contract, if you're not pushing forward right now, you lose 100% of your momentum.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're going to feel that not today, not tomorrow, next week, you're going to feel fine. But in 60 to 90 days, you're going to be like, junk. I'm at the bottom of the hill and I got to push up all over again.
Yeah. And that's the consistency that a lot of people never have. They just never figure out how to do that.
Yeah. So I'm a downhill skier. Lee's a downhill skier. But in college, I went to school in Minnesota and there weren't a whole lot of hills, right? Because I wanted to get out in 30-degree below weather, I put on Lycra and joined the cross-country ski team. And one of the things we did there, cross-country skiing is like, hey, let's take that really awkward, unfun part of downhill where we're just walking around like this and we just do it all day long, right? So, but the thing is when we were going up a hill and you're doing the skating, you're doing the pushing, you're doing all that stuff, it was that final 10 feet that could make a huge difference on whether you pushed ahead of your competitor or not. Mm-hmm. Because most people, when they got to the top of the hill and it starts to get a little bit more gradual, they would coast and catch their breath. But if you waited 10 more feet, 15 more feet till you hit the downhill and caught your breath on the downhill and cranked it over the top, you could put 50 feet, 100 feet on your competitor who coasted at the top. And that happens in real estate too with your income.
No, it totally does, and it's so easy to fall into that trap. And I've experienced it over the last few years, and it's something that I'm really vigilant about now. And it's so easy to let things interfere with your prospecting time. Yeah.
So Lee, if when you start building out systems, we were playing around today, folks. We were like, hey, can we give these people some scripts that they can just go transcribe, right? Take this recording, throw it up on freetranscribe.com or free transcription or scribed or any one of the systems. Google free transcribe and you can get anybody's words from anywhere. Lee, what can we give them today that they could say to, we were talking so much about prospecting. Let's give them a prospecting script, right? Let's just role play it right now. We can give them a prospecting script and then maybe we can give them a video they could send out to a homeowner as a follow-up, as a thank you, as a why use me or something. What do you think?
Yeah. So, I mean, a prospecting script, something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and this is something I've been talking to folks about, is given the state of the market right now, given that it's such a low inventory market, there aren't a lot of listings out there, period. You don't want to, I think the urge that we fall into as agents is we're always told to qualify really hard on the phone. And I think now you want to be adjusting that, and you want to be, you want to just really try to get in touch with the homeowner. And then if you can get them live on the phone, then you really want to try to get in front of them and set an appointment. And, I think we always want to overqualify. We want to, and part of that is protecting our prospecting time because we don't want to hop in the car every time we talk to somebody. But given the way the market is right now, I think it's important to just go straight to the point, try to get in front of the homeowner, the seller.
And I agree with that, Lee, because there's so much of, well, we talked about a little bit of qualification, right? You need to own a home and have the rights to sell that home. Mm-hmm. That's exactly. Kind of basic, right? But beyond that, as far as booking an appointment, you really need to get in front of somebody, right? When I went on that 1.5 million listing appointment on Sunday, he's talking to people all over Denver and he's getting calls from other states. to list his house, because people in other states who have assistants, who hired VAs, who have people in the Philippines or whatever, they are prospecting high ticket out of state to refer, right? So like, let's say you get a $1.5 million listing, hypothetically, let's just say it's 3%, it's $45,000 commission. If you can refer that to an agent and keep 30%, you didn't even do any work.
Right. Well, and that's something that never ceases to amaze me, is like when I talk to people who I, like sellers who I, on the phone, who I'm prospecting with, the amount of technology and the amount of just crazy things that's going into prospecting sellers and homeowners right now is just insane. I mean, there's so many things. There's text, there's video text, there's like robocalls, there's every kind of, different technique and tactic that you can do. And which really drives home to me that you just need to get in front of the seller and try to get experience with the property and try and get experience with that particular seller on a personal level. And, that's never been more important than right now, because there's all this technology that's being leveraged.
And I love how when we started this call, you're like, hey, I was on a call last night with one of my coaches, right? And it just dawned on me, like, you have multiple coaches, I have multiple coaches. And last night I was up like for 2 or 3 hours, listening to coaching, listening to training, watching stuff. And my father-in-law walked in, he's visiting, and he's like, you spend a lot of time on that, don't you? I said, yeah, I do. He said, but you've been doing this for 19 years. I said, yes, I have. But I can always still study, train, refine, get better at my craft. And like you said, with so much new technology coming in, I need to be aware of what my competitors are doing. But even if I'm not, because that's a big waste of time for people, and it's a time suck in a black hole I don't want to invite you into, is studying like all that garbage. But what Lee's pointing out is that you are up against other people, that you can persevere with $0, zero money, zero investment, if you just have the one thing they don't have, which is discipline.
Yeah, it's discipline, and really it's you, because at the end of the day, they are not hiring anything else but you. They're, even your brand, even there's some brokerages in my city that are like, so I talked to a guy the other day, actually it was 2 nights ago, who's an agent at a company in my city that's been around for like 95 years. And it's like this, venerated, old Seattle brand. And they take so much pride in that. And at the end of the day, no one is hiring him because he is at so-and-so real estate company. They're hiring him because they want to work with him. And I hope that people realize that. And especially people who are new in the business, don't think for a minute that you can't go take a big listing. Because if they like you and they trust you and they know you, they're going to hire you, and they're not going to hire you because of your logo. They're going to hire you because of you. And I mean, that's the truth. So, just right. I would use that like as a confidence booster, because it should be.
Absolutely. Because people, you're not listening to this podcast. You're not watching us on YouTube because our Freedom System logo is so awesome, right? I thought it looked like a little house with some money and a smiley face, but who cares, right? You're not watching it because of that. It might look like a boat to you. Maybe it's Noah's Ark. Who cares? You're listening because we're actually providing value. You're inviting your realtor friends to listen to us because you think it's going to help them make more money. You're subscribing, you're hitting the notify button, you're doing all the little bells and things up here and down there that you need to do to be notified of our next show and to watch it when it goes live, not because of the logo, not because it's Rick and Lee. It's if we don't provide content that matters, that pushes you forward, you're going to tune us out. And that's the same thing on a real estate listing.
And that's the freedom. I mean, that's really what it comes down to, is like, one of my favorite sayings is eternal vigilance is the price of liberty. It's like, if you want to be free, if you truly want to be free, then you have to do things like have a schedule. You have to do things like time block, budget your time, you have to be coached. You have to have people around you who are helping push you forward. And if you continue to be vigilant, you will find yourself free, because you're putting all the systems, everything in place to make that possible. It's really, it's really what it comes down to.
So drop in the comments, folks, shoot us a text, drop in the comments, like, what do you want? Where are you right now? Right. We see the people watching, we can look at the live counts, we can look at the recorded counts, but let us know who you are. If you don't want to do it publicly in the comments, send us a text. Just say, hey, look, I'm a new agent selling 2 homes every year. I work full time. I'm on strike at King Supers in Denver. Like, whatever your story is, like, where are you? What are you doing? Where do you need to be pushed forward? And we will tailor this show to help you. We can invite you live on this show and help you live. We can do what it needs to be done. If you're selling 15 homes a year and you feel stuck and you want to move forward, you want to move the needle, tell us and we'll create a show for you. We'll pour into you and let you know exactly what you need to be doing to get from 15 up to 25, right? And make a monstrous difference in your lifestyle because you just added 2/3 of your income. If you're at 40, 50, 60 homes a year and you're saying, hey, I want to build a team, or my team's struggling, or my team's choking my freedom because I'm supervising all these people. I feel this huge weight on my shoulders of providing leads, and I don't know if I can perform, and I'm scared, and I don't know what to do as an independent broker. Talk to us, because we've been there. We have coaches. We have systems that you can use to push past that scared point. But let us know. If we don't know, we're just going to keep winging it. We'll give you great content, but we'd love to tailor it to you.
Well, and that's the great thing, Rick, about our group at EXP is like there are people at every level of production. You know, there are people who have gone to all the way to the mountaintop, like pretty much as far as you can possibly go in this business.
Absolutely. President of global coaching companies. I mean, like, seriously.
I mean, you can learn from them. They've already, chances are they've already been where you're trying to go.
Yeah. And we have people in our group that take a listing a day with one assistant.
Mm-hmm.
One listing a day.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's some serious systems, right? We have the number one home builder in Iowa is in our group. We have national coaches in our group. We have more icon producers than you can count. We have the exclusive realtor for the Atlanta Falcons. So we can teach you how to become a celebrity, realtor. Like, whatever it is that you want to do with your business, however you want to achieve freedom, let us know. If you're stuck and you can't get free, and it's mid-January when we're recording this, call us, text us, put it in the comments. Like, what do you need? And we're going to give it to you, folks. And you don't have to pay $12,000, $10,000 for it. Right now, this is all free.
Exactly.
You laughed when I said right now. I was like, hey, yeah, someday maybe we'll charge for this, but who knows? Right now it's free.
No. I mean, that's a funny thing, Rick, is like, my number one goal is to be of service to agents, and whether they're with our brokerage or not, I just want to help people out there because I know how it is. I know the struggles. I've experienced it firsthand. And, it's just, I think 2022 is going to be an amazing year. All signs are pointing to the market kind of stabilizing, but still big appreciation here, in my market, and I think in most markets all over the country. So
and we joke about that, folks, but this show, regardless, this coaching right here always will be free, right? We're going to do this daily, all the time. Everything we're going to charge for someday is going to be free right here, regardless. So if you want to join us on the show, if you want to be a guest speaker on our show, if you want to be a guest guinea pig on our show, if you want to be a guest student on our show, text us, write us, let us know. We'd love to have you on. Some of our loyal followers like Rashawn and David, come on board. Whether you're in Seattle, whether you're in California, if you're in anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world, really, this stuff is basic and it works, right? Like, I don't know how real estate is done in Australia or South Africa, but the basics of customer service, the basics of relationship building, the basics of getting in front of someone, following up, time blocking, all of that applies regardless of where you live.
Well, and that's something, Rick, that I've really enjoyed. Like, I've talked to agents over the last probably 6 months or a year in markets all over the U.S. And there obviously are some differences in how people prospect, how people grow their business, how people do deals, all that. And I love learning about different markets and how they go and how people find success in different areas. And like you're saying, like, there's definitely some fundamental things that are true, across the board. And I have a really good friend who's an agent in Florida, and he's a phenomenal agent, and he's growing his business right now like crazy. And it's really interesting to talk to him about how his business is developing there. And there are some nuances and differences, but what we're really trying to do is help move everyone forward. I mean, you are the sum of the 5 people closest to you. And so it's like, who are you putting yourself around? And also, are you coached? What are you reading? What are you thinking? What are you saying? Because those are all, that's all going to affect your business moving forward.
The biggest thing that held me back in starting my career, and I've put this in my Real Producers article, I put this in a lot of places. It's humbling to admit, but I was too proud to hire a coach and be coached and watch training when I got started. I wouldn't even join a brokerage. I wouldn't even join a franchise. I'm like, screw this. I'm going to figure it out on my own. I'm smart. And I lost 2 homes to foreclosure. I watched my water get turned off. I was literally taking showers with jugs of water from Safeway. And like, when you hit rock bottom, eventually you learn. You got to learn from somebody else who's actually done it before, right? This business is all. So if you say, Rick, but you don't understand. Oh, I do, right? I do understand all of the blocks and all of the obstacles that you might be facing right now. Been at this 19 years. Lee's been at this a long time too. I mean, as a realtor, selling for 3, but we have experienced it, right? We've gone through it. We do understand that you have a time imposition from your family, that you can't do this. You broke. You're this. You're that. You're this. But you don't understand. Try us, right? Try us, and we're going to meet you where you are and push you through that obstacle, right? Because the size of a man, the size of a woman is determined by the size of the obstacle that stops them.
No, it's true.
And if you let if your speed bump is perceived as a mountain, you might be just stuck by a speed bump. And if you don't know that there's a way either around that or over that or whatever it is, you're going to be stopped by something that shouldn't stop you. And part of what's stopping you right now is skill and learning from somebody how to get past whatever it is that's blocking you. And we're talking to producing agents too, folks. Producing agents, you might think their life is sweet. And, oh, if I only had 10 million in sales, I'd be fine. Right? But having 10 million in sales is not what's going to make you fine. It's the be, do, have. Do you want to go into the be, do, have, do, be, have?
Yes, that's my very, very favorite. I mean, you were alluding to it earlier in the show, but it's like, people think that you have to have, a certain type of house or a certain type of spouse or a certain type of car or a certain type of lifestyle to be the person that you want to be. And it's exactly the opposite. You have to be the person. You have to start by being the person that would have those things. And it's kind of abstract for people, but that's really what it comes down to. You have to become the person that would have all of those things. That's the wonderful thing about becoming a producer who makes $250,000, $500,000, $1 million a year, is that in that process of becoming that, you will change as a person so dramatically that it's almost like Superman, running out of the phone booth. I mean, you will change your life, your relationships, your, everything by going through that process of change. And I think that's what people miss. So many people want to have everything first and then, figure out how to be the person second. And that's not how it works.
Right. And it's not, if you have the systems, you'll do the activities and then be the person.
Yeah.
If you be the person and then you do the activities, then you'll have the stuff.
And being the person means getting, being coached, being around people who are doing it at a high level, being around people who have the heart of a teacher, who are willing to train and help you and pour into you along the way, and working on yourself, doing the inner work, the self work, and even just things as simple as like working out, eating right, getting good sleep, all that, all those things go together. Because, what I notice, and actually one of the things I love about the business is that it is so demanding on a daily level to do the activities that we need to do to be successful and to have the mindset that we need to have. And, part of it is your body affects your mind. So if your body's not in the right place, you're not going to have the mindset that you need to persevere in this business, and certainly not to do it at a high level.
Right. And the Pareto principle holds here, folks, right? what we're talking about, 20% of the people will do.
Mm-hmm.
And 20% of the people are going to have 80% of the income and 80% of the business.
Yep.
Because 20% is actually doing this. And you are not stuck, no matter what your background, no matter how hard your life, no matter how hard your life has been until today, you do not have to be stuck in the 80%. You can climb over that speed bump to the 20%, right? And then once you get into the 20%, you'll realize there's a 20% there too. And within the 20%, 20% of those folks are really, really, really crushing it. And so get over the speed bump from the 80 to the 20. Let us get you there, right? Come unstuck. And if you're in the 20%, you're in the 80 of the 20, and we need to get you unstuck and get you into the 20 of the 20, because that is magic.
And part of the 20% and part of, anything smaller, like in that segment, the ironic thing, and this is something that's really been driven home for me lately, is that you think that what you have to do is more complicated. It's actually probably more simple. The number of things that you have to do well are shrinking, but you're doing them really, really well. And that's something that I've really learned over the last probably 6 or 8 months.
Yeah. And I learned so much from you. I hope you learned something from me. We just do the show for each other. It's fine. But one of the things you said yesterday that really anchored with me and stuck home was when you said, like, hey, if I just take care of my morning, I find the rest of the week takes care of itself. Right.
The rest of my life, it takes care of itself. It's kind of insane. I mean, it's long term. It's like if I nail my mornings like 5 days a week, everything else kind of can go out the window, and I still have a great work experience. I have a great business. I have a great home life. I have so many other things fall into place.
Yeah.
And so it's like, can you master, 3 or 4 hours a day? Can you master that in the morning? And if you do that, everything else will take care of itself.
And I just want to caution again, maybe the speed bump, and it's dawning on me right now, right? Like, we're live therapists for each other. We're live coaches for each other. But one of the things that might be stopping people right now, the speed bump, the molehill that becomes a mountain, is the word but, right? If you're listening to the show and any positive tip that you get, any advice you get, go simple, go big, go disciplined, whatever. If your first response is, but it won't work here, but I don't have FSBOs, but I don't have expireds, but when I call people, they're going to say no, but, that word, if that's your trigger response to this show, that's your mountain. That's keeping you from crossing from 80 to 20, right? Because your self-doubt, your doubt about your environment, your experience, the justification that your world is somehow different than the world we're talking about, right? Because you're in a different city, you're in a different market, your average price point's $150, you're in a fight with your spouse or significant other. Like, if you're,
I'm sorry, my market doesn't have any FSBOs. My market doesn't have expireds.
No, I'm bad on the phone. I'm ugly. I'm fat. I'm
nothing ever expires.
I'm too pretty. Like, whatever it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, it reminds me of I mean, you probably read, and I think probably most of the people who are watching this read the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. It's probably it's probably one of the number one books that's come out in this industry over the last probably 25 years.
And P.S. you should be reading Harris Rules instead.
Yeah, and Harris Rules. I mean, Harris Rules is sort of like the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, 3.0, in my humble opinion. It's
right, because it's actually action, practical, tactical stuff.
It just nails it so succinctly and well. I mean, that's the book that everyone on this who listens to us should be reading right now, is Harris Rules.
Small plug for our business partner.
Gary Keller, calls it the myth understandings. There are myth understandings in the business. You probably remember this, Rick, but it's, one of the myth understandings is, oh, well, it's different because it can't be done in my market. My market's just different. You don't understand my market. It can't be done. And I get that all the time. I talk to agents in different markets all over the country, and they're like, well, that's not, I can't use that lead pillar because that's we don't have those in my market. And I'm talking to an agent who is in a major city of like 3 million people, and they're telling me that they don't have this particular lead type. And I'm like, no, you're just not looking for it, or you're not willing to push hard enough to actually go find it, because it's there. That's the reality.
Yeah.
And I want to help folks like that. I want to help you figure out a way to cast your net wider, figure out what rock are you not turning over to find this, particular lead type. It's there. Trust me, it's there. And there's someone else in your market who's crushing it with that lead type right now.
And I'll confess to you guys, I've not only been that person, I'm justifying myself to the broke bank, right? I've been that person. Some days I still am that person.
Yep.
Right? Because not every day am I motivated. Some days I will justify myself right to the poorhouse, right? Yep. But yes, it's a matter of identifying that little thing on your shoulder and flicking it off and coming right back to basics. Go back to simple. Every day that it gets complicated, or every day that you have that myth in your head or the justification in your head, you got to tune into somebody else like this. You got to tune into a show like ours. You have to surround yourself by people who won't buy into that BS and get you back on track, folks. Exactly. Anyway, Lee, you've got some prospecting time. I've got some prospecting time. We have to discipline ourselves.
Best time of day, Rick. It's the best time of day right now.
Because the next 3 hours of your life are going to make your life.
Exactly.
So, hey, folks, we'll see you tomorrow every day, 7:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday, the Rick and Lee, doing the Freedom System, inviting you to experience freedom. Invite your friends, subscribe, hit like, comment, notify. Bye.